Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TFE podcast, the total franchise experience where fantasy's at its finest, and another episode of Preseason Ponderings. And this time, I felt like I should probably do the AL champion. I did the league champion. I did the NL champion. Marlins. Feels like I should probably touch on the AL champion, the year one AL champion, Tampa Bay Rays this time. This chunk, if I do more than one here, I still don't really know if I am or not. But going to take a look at the Rays today, and immediately I have bone to pick with Cam. How you? I mean, look, you can't shit on a playoff. It's hard to shit on playoff teams. It's hard to shit on. Like I said when I did the Marlins, I felt like maybe I hadn't rated him as highly as I should have for the team that won in year one. But man, that's year one, so we're clean slating it. We're talking about year two, and Cam. The theme of these pods so far, obviously, zero depth. If you just take the lineup that's in there right now, it looks pretty good. It's really quite good. Have some flexibility in the form of multiple guys that can play multiple positions, except for really the infield. Jazz can play third. I'm pretty sure the Yankees have said that he was going to play second, so you're going to get Jazz with center, second, and third eligibility, which would be really nice. Winker that plays left and right, Vierling that plays left, right, center. It's not a very strong outfield. It's a pretty strong infield. And Diaz at catcher, the one splash, and maybe two. Cam made two splashy auction moves. He spent $21 on Ozzy Albies, which feels to me like a really nice price to get him at. And he spent $24 on Kevin Gausman. So those were really the two splashy moves the Rays made. But one wonders if this team as a whole would look quite a bit better had he not made the couple of splashy buys and instead filled out the team a little bit. If we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we see that he is at 19 players, big league players. We roster 26 in TFE, so there's some deficiency on the bench. Absolutely no major league hitting bench. So, and that's not to say, of course, again, this is January 29th. The Rays can and probably will do something to address this issue and get some depth, whether through trade, whether he's got fab ideas. I don't see a whole lot of prospects, ready to come up and immediately help him in year two here. But yeah, no depth. That's going to be, by now a pretty big ding for me personally. And the pitching looks okay. He did grab Steven Matz for $4. That's the kind of move I like you making, Cam, and not spending $45 combined on Gausman and Albies. You really needed to fill out a little bit more, but the rotation looks pretty good. It's really leaning heavily on one major league team with Gausman, Barrios, and Bassett, all three Blue Jay pitchers. You got a couple of saves guys potentially. I think Hendricks is supposed to be, or maybe slated to be, the saves guy in Boston. Lucas Erceg, Irk Bedig, inside joke for EPS guys, is going to be the saves guy for the Royals. So those combined for $14 looks pretty good. Picked up Hendricks in the auction. So he made nice auction moves. I really like Albies for $21. I like Matz for $4. I like Erceg rather Hendricks for $7 if he is indeed going to be the Boston closer. $7 closer on a good team is a really nice buy. I don't love the spending $1 on $35 Hector Neris with no team. Who the hell knows what that's going to be? But when you take the rotation as a whole, Keller, Freddie Peralta, Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, toss Steven Matz in there, toss Kyle Freeland in there. This is a team that, if healthy, is probably going to get to 7 starts a week. shouldn't have too much trouble. She's no pitching prospects at all. Sorry. Shouldn't have too much trouble getting to those 7 starts. And a decent chunk of them may end up being good starts. It's a pretty good rotation. Lacking in depth, though, a little bit. I mean, I like – it's hard to say lacking in relief pitching depth. Really, the only two are Hendricks and Urseg, and it's kind of a 0 after that. But I do like the starting pitching depth in a 30-team league to have, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that all definitely have rotation spots on their respective teams. Yeah, that's decent enough depth. You get one guy with a 2-start week, and you have an extra start you can play with. Blah blah blah. Shouldn't have too much of an issue getting to 7, assuming health. Of course, it's really the lack of depth is up here at the bats, and it's not just a lack of depth. It's no depth. It's not. He's only got 1 or 2 guys on the bench. He's got 0 guys on his bench, and I don't want to start giving away fab targets, for myself or anybody. There's not a whole lot out there. So what does Cam do exactly to address his depth? He hasn't made any fab trades yet, so he's still got his full $50. But, yeah, that's going to be tough. That said, I like the lineup and I like the rotation. So, I mean, this is probably – definitely has the potential to be a playoff team. And I think if you just, if we just played the season out on just the guys we're going to start and not worrying about depth or flexibility or anything like that, I think it's almost assuredly a playoff team. I really like Zach Neto, $17 Max Muncy. Looks like that infield is very strong. The outfield, what are you going to get from Jesse Winker? Again, the Trax projections, I don't know where they do their projections from, but they're giving him nearly 3 points a game. I don't know if in 396 at-bats, Winker has never averaged, 2021 in 400 at-bats, he was at 4.1. But really, other than that, 3.1 in 54 games in 2020. But with Seattle, 2.6, that stint with Milwaukee, 1.8 in only 61 games. And then last year he played 145, 2.8 points per game. I don't know that I see Winker, taking a big step forward in his age 31, 32 season and getting up to the 3 points per game. I suppose it's possible. It's nice that he plays left and right, but it's a pretty weak outfield. Veerling, again, they're giving 2.98. Is he that, or is he most of what his career has been? He was 2.9 this last year in 24, but before that, 2.7, 1.9, 1.8, obviously in smaller samples. But is Matt Veerling going to be a 3-point per game guy? If he is, $7 looks pretty good for a guy that plays 4 positions and is a 3-point per game guy, but I don't know if I believe he is. And I've never been a Jazz guy. I would sell or take the under on 3.65. I know he's been good in the past, but I'm just not a Jazz guy. I do suppose Yankee Stadium is a really nice place for him to be playing. So maybe he does 3.3, 3.4 points per game. Maybe, he's done it. So maybe he is just $20 and signed through 29. I'm just not a Jazz guy. That's me. He's entering his prime. He's only 26. Probably going to get that second base eligibility. So for $20, second, third, and center, of course I would take that on my team. But I just personally, I'm not a Jazz guy. Never have been. Probably never will be. But decent enough price on him. $26 Yainer, little expensive, but does play catcher, does play first, offers him some flexibility if Carlos Santana, needs a rest because he's 50 years old. Diaz slides into first, but then currently he's got nobody to catch. So it's another one of those situations where sure, he's got some positional flexibility, but with the total no depth at all, any anywhere he moves somebody, it's going to open a hole somewhere else. So got to look for the Rays to pick up a backup catcher somewhere, maybe somebody else that can play. Just somebody else that can play. You know, okay, Ozzy has the day off and Miguel Rojas slots into second base. Well, now you have nobody in the utility spot. You got to have some at bats to cycle in on these. You know, it looks really great when I just compare it with my own team that I was looking at earlier. I have a lot of guys that Trax is projecting for mid 300s, high 300s at bats, but I have several of them on my bench as well. Cam's got a lot of guys that are projected for 400, close to 500 at bats, which is great, which is what you want. But he's got absolutely nobody to plug in when these guys aren't playing, or should these guys miss time, because it's baseball. Somebody will miss time. Almost assured. Max Muncy is good for a DL stint or two every year, I feel like lately. Neto hasn't exactly been a picture of health. Santana's a million years old. Jesse Winker's a pretty old 31. You got to have some at-bats to plug in here, even if they're only 2 point per game, 1.8 point per game at-bats. At least you're not taking a zero. Because right now, every time somebody has a day off, it's a zero. Every time, you know, the team has a day off, it's a zero. Those zeros add up, you know, just like the 2 points per game would add up the other way. So it's really difficult to predict what Cam is going to do to fill this out. You know, the cap goes up. He really doesn't have to worry about money. You know, we're all pretty much at 260, but he's got no prospects that I love. He has absolutely no pitching prospects. So it's tough to say that, yeah, he's going to be able to swing some kind of deal where he nets 2 or 3 or 4 major league players without giving a major league player away, because these prospects are not great. They're really not great. So Cam, quite interested to see what you end up doing, how you end up filling this team out. As it is today, the lack of depth really dings you. I'm going to give Cam, because we saw it in year one, potential playoff team, certainly. And he's going to get like 6.7, because I really like the rotation and the lineup is really good. I just really think you're going to get hurt by the lack of depth. Call it 6.7, which is well above average if average is 5. 6.7 Rays on a skateboard out of 10 Rays on a skateboard for the year one AL champion Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I want to fall short of saying you messed up the year 2 auction, because, again, the lineup looks really nice, the rotation looks really nice. But, man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if one of these guys goes down in spring training? What are you going to do on days off? Everybody's going to be fighting you for the same guys in Fab. I'm very curious to see how you fill out your bench. And I think that will ultimately tell, does this team, you know, steamroll its way to the playoffs and maybe through the first round or two and take another shot at the AL pennant, or does this team fall quite a bit short because there's a lot of at-bats missing on the offensive side and maybe some innings missing on the RP side. Not as big of a deficiency as the total lack of bench depth, but yeah, be interesting to see how he does it. So there we go. The year 2 post-auction Tampa Bay Rays. And we'll see you in the next one.